You ever have a moment when the people you thought would protect you turn their backs on you? When the person you trusted the most, your own mother, looked you dead in the eyes and called you a thief? That moment happened to me. And it all started with my brother, Caleb Hartley, the golden boy, the one who could do no wrong, the one who borrowed money from our mother and then blamed me for stealing it. My name is Ava Hartley. I'm 38 years old, a single mom, and a freelance graphic designer just trying to live a quiet, honest life with my daughter, Lily. I've had my share of storms, divorce, financial stress, single parenting, but I always thought I could count on my family when things got rough. Turns out I was wrong. I grew up with a mother who seemed to only have one child. Sure, technically there were two of us, me and Caleb, but if you watch the way she treated us, you might have thought Caleb was an only child. Mom came from that strict, old-school thinking. Tough love was her language, except when it came to my brother. For him, it was all praise, forgiveness, and trust. For me, it was criticism, silence, and the constant feeling that no matter what I did, I would never be enough. But I still tried. I still called her every week. I brought her soup when she was sick. I sent her photos of Lily's school projects, hoping it would connect something, somewhere. It never did. Not really. I told myself that at least Caleb was around. At least she had one child she cared about, even if he was selfish, impulsive, and as unstable as a Jenga tower in an earthquake. And yet, even I didn't see this coming. 2 weeks ago, my mother called me. No, hello. No, how are you? No warm tone. Just rage. "I know what you did," she said. "You stole money from your brother, your own family. How could you?" I couldn't breathe. I literally couldn't speak. My body froze. My mother was accusing me of stealing $8,000. $8,000. I had no idea what she was talking about, no clue there had even been money exchanged between Caleb and Mom. But somehow, she was convinced I was the one who had taken it. And to make matters worse, Caleb told her I did it. My brother. The boy I shared bunk beds with. The boy I used to defend in school when kids made fun of his lisp. The boy I stuck up for when he'd mess up. He told her I stole money from him, and she believed him. Instantly. No questions. No hesitation. "You always wanted what he had," she snapped over the phone. "I always knew you were jealous of your brother." I remember the sting of those words, like a splinter going all the way in, hitting bone. She always knew? That was the part that broke me. Not only did she believe the lie, but she made it sound like I'd been a villain in her eyes my entire life. I tried to defend myself. "Mom, why would I steal from Caleb? When have I ever—" "Oh, please," she cut me off. "You're not fooling anyone. We're having a family meeting, Sunday, and you're going to make this right." I wanted to scream, to cry, to hang up and never speak to her again. But then I saw Lily, my little girl, only 7, looking at me from across the room with these big, confused eyes. She'd heard me shouting. She'd seen the hurt I was trying so hard to hide. I went into the bedroom and locked the door before I let myself fall apart. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there replaying the words over and over. "I always knew you were jealous." I thought about my entire life, all the times I bit my tongue, all the ways I'd tried to be humble, helpful, neutral. All for what? For my own mother to believe the first terrible thing said about me? And Caleb, calm, slick, smiling Caleb. Why would he lie? Why would he do this? Did he need the money that badly? Or did he just enjoy watching me fall apart? I wish I could tell you this nightmare ended there, that I stood up for myself and walked away from the toxicity. But what happened next? Even I couldn't have imagined it. And the irony? It wasn't me who ended up proving my innocence. It was my daughter. My quiet, observant 7-year-old daughter, with her pink laptop and a heart more courageous than mine had ever been. Because at that family meeting, when everyone had turned against me, Lily stood up, plugged her computer into the living room TV, and calmly said, "I organized something for Mom last month. It's about Uncle Caleb and Grandma. I found it in Mom's emails. Should I show it to everyone?" Everything changed in that moment. And it wasn't because of me. It was because my daughter refused to let the truth stay buried. I'm not one of those people who imagines the perfect life. I learned a long time ago that perfection is a myth, especially in family. But I did believe in peace, instability, especially for my daughter, Lily. She was the glue in my world, the quiet force that helped me get out of bed on the worst days, even when the sky felt like it was collapsing around me. It had been 3 years since my divorce from Ethan, Lily's father, 3 years since I'd turned our tiny 2-bedroom duplex into a home. The walls were covered in Lily's crayon masterpieces. My home office was squeezed into a corner of the living room, cluttered with sketches, empty coffee mugs, and sticky notes full of client deadlines. Freelance graphic design wasn't glamorous, but it gave me flexibility. I could design social media banners while Lily played with her dolls on the floor next to me. I could pick her up from school myself. I could be there, even if everything felt like it was barely holding together. Life wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Small, manageable, meaningful. But there was always this shadow hanging over me, a void I tried to pretend wasn't there. My family, specifically my relationship with my mother, Evelyn Hartley. She lived only 40 minutes away, but emotionally, she was always miles and miles from me. Mom wasn't the affectionate type. She wasn't warm or gentle. Growing up, her love was something to be earned through good grades, obedience, and silence. She wasn't a bad person. She was just cold, sharp, like glass, except when it came to Caleb. My younger brother, Caleb Hartley, was the son in Mom's world, a charming mess of a man, handsome, quick-witted, and utterly irresponsible. He'd failed in more career paths than most people even try, but somehow, every time, Mom was there to lift him up, to write a check, to say, he just needs a little more time. She saw strength in his recklessness, saw confidence in his carelessness, saw greatness where there were only broken promises. Me? I was the good one, the one who stayed out of trouble, the one who handled her own life, the one who didn't need help. And because I didn't need help, I got none. Caleb got the money, the forgiveness, the excuses. I got the lectures, the comparisons, and the reminder that I was too sensitive. And every time I tried to speak up, I was accused of being jealous. So I let it go. I built a life separate from them. I visited on holidays. I called once a week. I kept the peace. But I stopped hoping for closeness. The only real connection I still held on to was Lily's relationship with her grandmother. Lily, innocent as sunshine, loved her grandma with a pure kind of devotion. I tried not to let my bitterness color that. I let her visit, I let them bake cookies together. I would drive her there, pick her up, ask how it went, and listen as she said things like, "Grandma told me you were a quiet kid like me," or "Caleb showed me how to play poker," things that made me smile and ache all at once. But it was fine. I told myself that, over and over. It's fine, until the day it wasn't. The day Caleb called me, sounding fake casual like he didn't have a care in the world. "Hey, Ava," he said, "just checking in. Would you mind if I stopped by later this week? Maybe you could help me with something small?" I didn't think anything of it, just brushed it off, said I was busy and would get back to him. That was Tuesday. By Friday, I was being accused of stealing money either from him or from their joint account. The details were unclear, and my mother didn't care about details. She'd already made up her mind. Caleb had said I did it, so that was the truth. I didn't even know there was a shared account. But that didn't matter. Mom believed him. Instantly, completely. The emotional weight of that hit me harder than the accusation itself. I didn't care about the money. I cared that my mother, who raised me, who watched me struggle, who praised my humility and my hard work, was so willing to believe I was capable of stealing, of betrayal, of jealousy so deep it made me a thief. I hadn't thought about my family in years. Not really. I'd kept them at a careful distance. But that day, I felt like a kid again. Small. Misunderstood. Blamed for things I didn't do. Except this time, I had a daughter watching me, seeing her mother crumble under the weight of someone else's lies. And that was the moment I knew something had to change. Little did I know that change would come from the smallest person in the room. My daughter. My sweet, observant, laptop-loving daughter, who had all the proof I needed sitting quietly in a folder she'd saved without even realizing its power. The family meeting was set for Sunday, 2 p.m., at my mother's house. A time and place burned into my brain like a scar I hadn't earned. After that tense phone call from Mom, where her voice was laced with the kind of disappointment that felt like a punch to the gut. I spent the rest of the week in a numb state of shock. My hands shook every time I thought about it. How do you defend yourself from a crime you didn't commit? How do you face a family that already believes you're guilty? On Saturday night, after putting Lily to bed, I sat alone in the dark living room, clutching a cup of cold tea. My mind was running circles. What did I do wrong? Why didn't Mom even ask for my side of the story? Was I that forgettable? That untrustworthy? The worst part wasn't the accusation, or even the threat of legal action that Mom dramatically insisted on. No. The ache came from knowing that the person who gave me life didn't think I deserved the benefit of the doubt. I replayed conversations in my head, sick with confusion and hurt. Caleb's easy tone over the phone, Mom's quickness to judge, the eerie silence of my phone after I tried to call Caleb back, no reply. Then there was the quiet support of my daughter, Lily, just 7, but wise beyond her years. She sat beside me on the couch, rested her head on my arm, and said, "Everything's going to be okay, Mom." She said it like a promise, not an empty one, but the kind that makes you believe again, even if only for a moment. Sunday came too quickly. The sky was overcast, gray like my mood. Lily, sitting in the back seat with her pink backpack, was quiet. She could feel the tension. Kids always do. I turned down the radio because the morbid silence felt more honest than pretending everything was normal. Mom's house was exactly as I remembered. Perfectly manicured lawn, a wreath on the door that smelled like cinnamon, everything in its place. Except this time, the place I once filled in that house no longer had a space for me. I knocked. Caleb opened the door, smiling like nothing was wrong. "Hey, sis," he said, like we were about to have a family barbecue. I didn't answer him. I walked past him, straight into the dining room, where Mom was sitting at the table, arms crossed, eyes cold, like she'd been waiting just to judge me. Dad wasn't there. He rarely was. He and Mom drifted apart years ago, living in the same house but different worlds. "Sit," she ordered. I sat. Lily stayed beside me, clutching her laptop like a child holds a stuffed animal. Mom took a deep breath. "Ava, we didn't want this to happen, but Caleb has shown me some concerning things. He let me know that $8,000 are missing from our joint savings, and there's no other explanation except that you took it." I blinked. "You didn't even ask if I took it." She scoffed. "I shouldn't have to. Caleb wouldn't lie." I laughed. I actually laughed from the disbelief. "Are you hearing yourself? I didn't even know you had a shared account." Caleb cut in, his voice soft, almost wounded. "Ava, this doesn't have to get ugly. We're family. Just admit you made a mistake, pay it back, and we'll move on." My mouth fell open. "Pay it back? I don't even have that kind of money. How? Then why did you take it?" Mom interrupted. "I didn't." The sound of my own voice startled me. I saw Lily flinch. Mom's face was stone. "Enough. You've always been jealous. I didn't want to say this, but I've seen it for years. You resented Caleb. You resented how close we were." I stared at her, shaking my head. "You don't know me. You never wanted to." Before she could reply, Lily stood up. Gently, determined. She stepped forward, laptop under her arm. "Grandma." Everyone went quiet. Lily never interrupted grown-ups like this. She walked to the TV, plugged in an HDMI cable she'd brought from home. "Mom asked me to help her clean emails last month," she began. I found something I didn't understand. I wasn't sure if I should tell her, but I think you should see it. The room froze. My mother's eyes darted to Caleb, who suddenly looked pale. My heart was pounding. Lily opened a folder on her desktop titled Evidence. And just like that, the tight, suffocating tension of that room suddenly shifted into something else entirely. The truth was coming. The energy in the room changed the moment Lily stood up. It wasn't dramatic at first, just a little girl walking toward a big TV with her laptop tucked under her arm. But something in her voice made everyone pause. She didn't sound afraid. She sounded sure, grounded, like she understood what was happening in a way none of us expected her to. She plugged the HDMI cable into the port, her small hands trembling slightly at first, but steady as she adjusted the settings and mirrored her screen to the big flat screen in the living room. You could feel the shift, like time slowed down and all eyes were on her. "Mom didn't know about this," she said. That sentence alone made my heart stop. Mom looked irritated. "Lily, honey, this is a grown-up conversation. We don't need—" "No," Lily interrupted. "You do." She stayed focused on the computer. Her voice was small, but it cut through the silence like a razor. Even Caleb was quiet now, eyebrows furrowed, watching his niece like she was speaking a foreign language. Lily clicked open a folder on her desktop titled Evidence. She turned and looked at me, those brown eyes looking so much older than 7. "Is this okay, Mom?" My throat closed. I could barely breathe. "Yes," I whispered. "Yes, baby." She nodded once, turned back to the screen, and double-clicked on a file. It was a PDF, screenshots organized neatly, emails, text logs, bank notifications. The first image filled the TV. It was an email from Caleb, an email to my mother. The subject line, "Rhea, cover me?" The body. "If Mom freaks out, I'll just blame Ava. She won't put up a fight, she never does. She's too honest to argue. Just let me handle it." The room was dead silent. My mother blinked, her jaw trembled. Caleb shifted in his seat. "What is this?" He laughed, but there was no real humor. "This is fake. Ava, this is—" Lily clicked to the next screenshot. This one was a bank transfer confirmation, a withdrawal of $8,000. Under Account Owner, it listed both Caleb Hartley and Evelyn Hartley. She clicked again. Another email from Caleb, this time to a different contact. "Already pulled the money. Just need to make sure Ava looks guilty. Mom believes anything I say anyway." Lily scrolled slowly, methodically. The evidence was damning, crystal clear trails of manipulation, planning, and deceit, all with Caleb's name stamped across each thread. I looked around the room. My mother's face had gone pale. Her lips parted slightly, as if she didn't know how to form the words she needed. Her hands, always steady and rigid, now trembled in her lap. Caleb's jaw clenched. The confidence was gone, replaced by panic. "Where did you get this?" he snapped at Lily. She didn't flinch. "I found it in Mom's email," she said, turning to me. "I was helping her organize last month. She never asked about it, but I kept the file just in case." I was stunned. I had no idea she had found any of this. I felt sick and proud all at once. How long had she carried this? Had she wondered if I had done something wrong? My heart ached thinking of Lily seeing those emails, understanding enough to save them, but not enough to know what to do. Then she turned back to my mother. "Grandma, I don't think Mom would ever lie to you, but I don't think Uncle Caleb told the truth. It was simple, delivered without malice, just truth." Caleb's face twisted. "You're seriously letting a child trick you? Mom, she's lying. That's gotta be some Photoshop junk Ava put together. This is—" "No?" The voice wasn't mine. It was my mother. She spoke quietly, soft enough that I almost didn't hear her, but her eyes were sharp now, locked on Caleb, not me. "No," she repeated. "I think this is real." Caleb stood up, his chair screeching backward. "You're gonna take her side over mine? After everything I've done for you? I'm your son. And she is my daughter," Mom snapped, pointing at me. "And you let me believe—" Her voice cracked. Caleb stared at her, then at Lily, then at the screen. The truth was in front of him, crystal clear. And for the first time in a very long time, Caleb had nothing left to say. He grabbed his jacket and stormed out of the house. The front door slammed, a car door, an engine, gone. The house went silent again. Only this time, the silence wasn't suffocating. It was cleansing. Lily, my brave girl, closed her laptop. Then she did something I'll never forget. She walked over to me and climbed onto my lap like she used to when she was little. And for the first time in days, I exhaled. Because finally, the truth wasn't just mine. It was ours. The front door slammed behind Caleb, the sound vibrating through the house and lingering in the air like leftover heat from a fire. Nobody moved. Not at first. Even the walls seemed to be holding their breath. I sat there with Lily in my lap, her warm weight grounding me. My mother was across the table, hands limp at her sides, staring at the TV screen still frozen on Caleb's incriminating email. The room was flooded with stillness, broken only by the quiet hum of the ceiling fan. It was over. The lie, the blame, the weight of an accusation that had nearly crushed me. The truth wasn't just revealed, it was undeniable, and yet the victory didn't feel triumphant. It felt heavy. My mother, Evelyn, leaned back in her chair as if her bones had suddenly aged a decade. She wasn't crying. She never cried. But something in her eyes had cracked open, a glass surface splintered from the inside. She looked away from the screen and then at me, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't see authority in her gaze. I saw shame. "Ava," she said softly. My name broke in the middle, as if the word had splinters. I didn't know. There it was, the apology behind the shock. But I couldn't speak. What was I supposed to say? "It's fine?" It wasn't. "I forgive you?" I wasn't sure I did. My whole life I'd been waiting for her to see me, to really see me. But now that she finally was, it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like something I'd lost long ago was now too broken to repair. "I was wrong," she said. That was harder for her than yelling, harder than any punishment. It came out small, like she barely believed she was capable of saying it. "I should have asked. I should have trusted you." "Trusted me?" I echoed, my voice brittle. "You never trusted me. Not once. I was always second place to him." The words hung between us, real, raw. I swallowed hard, trying to keep control, but my voice was shaking. "All these years," I continued, "I tried to be the version of your daughter I thought you'd want. Quiet, dutiful, polite. I covered your shifts when you needed it. I picked you up from the doctor. I never asked for money. I let Caleb be the favorite, because I thought, that's just how it was. But today," he lied. He planned it. And you didn't even blink before you believed him. Mom's hands trembled now, like something inside her was collapsing. She looked down at the table, maybe searching for words that wouldn't come, maybe realizing there were none. It was Lily who broke the moment. She slid off my lap and walked over to her grandmother. For a second, I wanted to stop her, to pull her close and shield her from the complexity of adult grief. But she kept walking. "Grandma?" she said, voice like a soft chord. "Mom doesn't lie. She doesn't take things. She helps me do my homework, and she says sorry when she makes mistakes, even when it's little things." Mom looked at her, really looked at her. Maybe it was in that moment that she finally understood the cost of her choices. Not just for me, but for the grandchild sitting in front of her, one who now knew exactly how far love could bend before it broke. "I know," she whispered. "I know that now." Lily nodded like she understood something deep and final. The room felt like it was shrinking, the walls closing in. I took a breath and stood up, not wanting to stay in that space a minute longer. "Thank you for letting us speak," I told my mother, voice flat but steady. "But I need some time. We both do." She nodded slowly, wordlessly. I picked up Lily's laptop, held her hand, and walked us out of the house. As we reached the car, I stopped, inhaled deeply, and looked back at the home I grew up in, the place I once thought would always be my foundation. Now just another building. Lily buckled herself in, her small voice cutting through the quiet. "Mom, are you okay?" I turned toward her and smiled softly. "I will be." It wasn't the ending I imagined, but it was real. And sometimes the truth doesn't set you free in a grand, triumphant blast. It sets you free in quiet steps, with a child's voice, a closed door, and a choice to not carry lies any further. When I drove away from my mother's house that afternoon, the silence between me and Lily wasn't uncomfortable. It was peaceful, like we were both still holding our breath after an emotional storm, and now the air finally felt calm again. We didn't have to speak. She just reached over from the back seat and rested her hand on my shoulder, like a quiet pulse of reassurance. 7 years old, and she carried more wisdom than people 4 times her age. I pulled into our driveway. The house still looked the same, small, a little cluttered, paint peeling in corners, but I saw it differently now. It wasn't just a house. It was mine. A place built on love, not on approval. A place where truth wasn't weaponized, where apologies were real, where forgiveness wasn't expected. It was earned. When we got inside, I sat Lily down on the couch. She was still clutching her laptop. "You didn't have to do that," I told her gently, defending me. That was a big thing. She looked at me with clear, unflinching eyes. I know, but I didn't want you to feel alone. Those words hit me harder than I was ready for. Tears came before I could stop them. I held her close, and she held me tighter. Tiny arms that carried more love than I'd ever felt in that house I left behind. Over the next week, things shifted. Caleb never called. No apology, no explanation, no denial. He disappeared, and maybe that was for the best. Some people can only stay in your life if you're willing to live in their shadow, and I finally wasn't. My mother, though, she did call. At first, it was just a voicemail, short, strained. I'm sorry, Ava. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I hope someday you can understand I acted out of fear, not hate. It was the closest she'd ever come to being vulnerable with me. I didn't call her back right away. I didn't know how. Part of me wanted to let it go, close the book and walk away forever. But another part, the daughter who still, somewhere deep down, wanted her mother's love, wasn't ready to say goodbye completely. A few days later, I got another voicemail, this one longer. She told me she'd transferred the $8,000 back to my account, not because she thought I should repay it, but because she finally believed I never took it. She said she'd spoken to Caleb. She wouldn't tell me what was said, but I deeply suspected it was the first time she ever held him accountable for anything. But here's where it gets complicated. I wasn't angry anymore, not in the way I was before. I wasn't screaming inside or replaying the scene in my head. I was tired of fighting for a mother who only showed up when her son wasn't there to drown me out. Tired of pretending I wasn't hurt or trying to be the better person at the expense of my own peace. So instead of calling her back, I sat down with Lily and we wrote her a letter together. It started with 3 words. We heard you. We didn't say, we forgive you. Not yet. Because forgiveness isn't a switch. It's a door you open when you're ready, and only if the other person is willing to meet you on the other side. I wrote, I'm choosing peace. For me. For my daughter. That's what matters now. We mailed it. Slowly. Together. With no expectations. And then life resumed. Not the same life. A better one. I took Lily out for ice cream on a random Tuesday afternoon just because. We turned off our phones for an entire weekend and went hiking. We watched movies in bed with popcorn. She helped me paint my tiny home office sky blue. The color, she said, made her think better. It wasn't perfect. It was real. Here's the thing. They don't tell you this when you're growing up. Sometimes the family you're born into isn't the family you're meant to keep. Sometimes the people who should protect you are the ones who make you feel unsafe. And sometimes the fiercest love doesn't come from parents. It comes from the child willing to speak up when you can't. That's what Lily gave me. Truth. Courage. A reminder that love isn't about blood. It's about choosing honesty over loyalty to the wrong people. In the end, I didn't lose my family. I just found the right version of it. And that version started with a little girl, a pink laptop, and a heart that refused to let lies win. If you stayed with me through this whole story, thank you. Seriously. I hope it reminded you of one thing. You don't have to stay silent when someone tries to steal your truth. You deserve to be heard. Always. If this story moved you, or if it made you think about your own family, or maybe even inspired you to stand up for yourself or someone you love, please let me know in the comments. I love reading your stories and your reflections. And if you like this video, do me a favor. Hit the like button. It really helps other people find this story. Share this video with someone who might need this kind of emotional truth in their life. Subscribe to the channel if you want more real stories just like this. Stories about family, betrayal, healing, and strength. I post new videos like this every week, and every single one is based on real people, real emotions, and real moments of courage. Thank you again for being here. Until next time, keep choosing truth, keep choosing love, and I'll see you in the next one.